I always believed I knew exactly what I wanted. I wanted this family. I wanted the unity, the loyalty, the dream we were all promised. But somewhere along the way, that dream shattered. And now, everything the Brown family once stood for is hanging by a thread. After months of silence, sudden breaks, and unanswered questions, the show is finally back, and the tension? It's explosive. This isn't just another season. This feels like the beginning of the end. When the cameras returned, emotions were already running dangerously high. During the explosive sit-down, Cody was pushed into a corner, and this time, there was no escape. Questions about his collapsing marriages, his loyalty, and his future in polygamy came at him from every direction. And viewers watched as the confident patriarch we once knew started to crack. But behind the scenes, something even more serious was unfolding. Mary and Janelle, once patient, once hopeful, have reached breaking point. For months, they waited. They gave time. They trusted promises about the Coyote Pass land. That property was meant to be their shared future. A symbol of unity. A place where the entire family would grow old together. Now, it's become a battlefield. In a tense private meeting, emotions boiled over. Mary's frustration was impossible to hide. She's done waiting. Done hoping. Done pretending everything will magically fix itself. For her, this isn't about revenge. It's about fairness. About closure. About claiming what she rightfully invested years of her life into. Janelle feels it too. As long as that land remains unresolved, she can't truly move on. It's the final chain tying her to a past she's desperately trying to leave behind. And this time, they're not asking. They're preparing to fight, legally. When Cody heard whispers of lawyers being involved, his reaction was immediate. Defensive. Angry. He insists he wouldn't cheat anyone. But the question hanging in the air is simple. If that's true, why did it take so long? And then came the tell-all. Sitting opposite the host, Cody looked exhausted. Not physically, emotionally. Years of tension finally catching up. When asked about accusations of favoritism toward Robin, his frustration exploded. He's tired of being blamed. Tired of feeling judged for loving one wife more openly than the others. But here's the problem. The other marriages didn't just quietly fade away. They collapsed. Publicly. Painfully. When the question came, would he ever choose polygamy again? Something shifted. His patience snapped. The defensive walls went up instantly. It wasn't just irritation. It felt like regret buried under pride. Christine didn't hold back either. When asked whether she believed he abandoned Mary, her answer was cold and clear. He didn't just walk away from one marriage. He walked away from all of them. That statement alone changed the tone of the entire conversation. And while all of this unfolds, Mary is facing her own harsh realizations. Her once close bond with Robin now feels uncertain. Was it genuine? Or was it built on convenience and shifting alliances? Doubt has replaced loyalty. But the emotional storm doesn't stop there. As the family tries to navigate broken relationships and financial disputes, tragedy strikes in the most unimaginable way. The sudden loss of Garrison leaves a hole that no argument, no land dispute, no television drama can compare to. In that moment, everything else feels small. Grief reshapes priorities. It forces reflection. It exposes what truly matters. Meanwhile, Janelle begins a new chapter far away from Arizona, building a life in North Carolina. Christine embraces her fresh start with David, finally stepping into a version of happiness that doesn't require sharing. And Robin stands beside Cody, the last remaining marriage, as the world questions whether polygamy is officially over for them too. Aurora's baptism brings a rare moment of light. A reminder that faith, at its core, was once the foundation of everything they built. But even that joy is layered with uncertainty about the future. And now the biggest question looms over everything. Is this the final chapter? 3 marriages are over. The original vision of one united plural family no longer exists. Family members are scattered across different states. Some barely speak. The unity that once defined them has fractured beyond recognition. If Cody and Robin choose monogamy, what remains of the original promise? What story is left to tell? As the season builds toward its final episodes, Emotions are raw. Conversations are brutally honest. Accusations are direct. There's no pretending anymore. No softening the truth. This isn't just reality television drama. It's the unraveling of a family that once believed they were unbreakable. And for viewers watching closely, one thing is certain. Whatever happens next will permanently define the legacy of the Brown family. Is reconciliation possible? Or are we witnessing the final collapse of a once bold experiment in love and faith? One era has already ended. The only question now is whether anything can rise from the ashes. If you've followed this journey from the beginning, you already know, this comeback isn't calm. It's emotional. It's painful. And it might just be the most shocking chapter yet. Stay tuned, because the truth is only just starting to surface. I truly believed I knew what I was signing up for. I wanted the family, not just the title, not just the lifestyle, the actual unity, the loyalty, the forever promise. But somewhere along the way, that promise started to feel like an illusion. And now, the cracks aren't small anymore, they're impossible to ignore. After weeks of silence and a sudden break that left fans confused, everything is finally back on screen, and the atmosphere is heavier than ever. This isn't just drama for television. This feels personal, raw. Like a family that once stood together is now barely holding itself upright. When the cameras returned, it was obvious something had shifted. The calm smiles were gone. The rehearsed unity had disappeared. Instead, there was frustration, resentment, and questions that refused to stay buried. At the center of it all is Cody, no longer the confident leader of a proud plural household, but a man under pressure from every direction. The tell-all wasn't just uncomfortable, it was explosive. He was confronted about the breakdown of his marriages, about the accusations of favoritism, about whether the entire foundation of his belief system had collapsed. And for the first time, it felt like he didn't have the answers. But while viewers focused on the heated interviews, something even more serious was unfolding quietly behind the scenes. Mary and Janelle, once patient, once hopeful, have reached their limit. Coyote Pass was meant to be the future. The shared dream. A piece of land where every wife and every child would build something lasting. It symbolized unity, commitment, a long-term vision. Instead, it's become the final source of division. For months, they waited for clarity. They trusted promises. They gave time for things to be resolved fairly. But patience has an expiry date, and theirs has run out. In a private conversation filled with emotion, the frustration was impossible to hide. There's no more pretending that everything will sort itself out. For them, this isn't about revenge or bitterness. It's about closure, about fairness, about reclaiming the part of their lives they invested years into. Janelle, especially, feels stuck. As long as the land remains unresolved, she can't truly move forward. It's like being tied to a chapter that's already ended. And this time, instead of waiting for change, they're preparing to force it. Legal action is now on the table. When Cody caught wind of that possibility, his reaction wasn't calm. He insists he would never deny anyone what they deserve. But frustration poured through. The tone shifted instantly, because once lawyers enter the picture, it's no longer a family disagreement. It becomes something colder, more final. And that's exactly where this family seems to be heading. The tension isn't just about property. It's about trust that's slowly eroded, about promises that feel broken, about years of sacrifice that now feel one-sided. This season doesn't feel like a continuation. It feels like a reckoning. And if this is only the beginning, what happens when the hardest questions are finally asked out loud? If the land dispute wasn't already enough to tear the remaining threads apart, the tell-all poured fuel straight onto the fire. Sitting under the studio lights, Cody looked different. Not powerful, not composed, but cornered. The questions weren't gentle, and for once, they weren't avoidable either. Years of tension were being unpacked in real time. The accusation that has followed him for seasons resurfaced again: favoritism. The belief that one relationship was protected while the others quietly deteriorated. And when that topic came up, the frustration in his voice was impossible to disguise. He's exhausted, he says. Exhausted from being blamed. From being painted as the villain for loving one wife openly while the others felt pushed aside. But viewers can see what the words don't fully hide. The anger feels layered, defensive, almost wounded. Then came the question that changed the energy in the room completely. Would he ever choose plural marriage again? There was no thoughtful pause. No reflective answer. Just a wall. A sharp refusal to even entertain the idea. It wasn't just discomfort. It felt like someone shutting the door on a chapter they no longer recognize. For a man who once wore polygamy like a badge of honor, that reaction spoke louder than any explanation. And while he wrestled with that narrative, Christine didn't hesitate to share her truth. When asked whether she believed he had abandoned Mary, her response was direct and unapologetic. It wasn't just one marriage that ended. It was all of them, one by one. That statement landed heavily, because it reframed everything. This wasn't about isolated breakups. It was about a system that ultimately collapsed under its own weight. Meanwhile, Mary is facing a quieter but equally painful realization. Her bond with Robin, once presented as solid, now feels uncertain. Doubt lingers. Was the friendship genuine? Or was it shaped by shifting loyalties and survival within a crumbling structure? The questions don't have easy answers, and that uncertainty cuts deeper than open conflict. But the emotional storm doesn't stop with arguments and accusations. Life outside the cameras has moved forward, and not always gently. Janelle has made the bold decision to rebuild in a completely different state, physically distancing herself from the chaos. Christine has stepped into a new marriage, one built on simplicity rather than complexity. For the first time in years, she seems lighter. And then, in the middle of all the tension and unresolved disputes, tragedy strikes in a way no one could have prepared for. The sudden loss of Garrison shakes the entire family to its core. In that moment, everything else, the property battles, the accusations, the fractured relationships, feels painfully small. Grief has a way of stripping away ego and forcing reflection. It exposes what truly matters, and what was perhaps lost long before. There are still moments of faith woven into this season. Personal milestones, spiritual decisions, attempts to hold on to meaning. But even those moments carry an undertone of uncertainty, because the biggest question remains unanswered. What does the future look like now? 3 marriages have ended. The original vision of one united plural household no longer exists. The family is scattered across different states, emotionally and physically distant. Some bonds are strained beyond repair. Some conversations may never happen again. And if the final remaining marriage chooses a monogamous path, then the entire foundation the show was built on has fundamentally changed. So now, as the season moves toward its final episodes, it doesn't feel like routine reality television. It feels like closure being negotiated in real time. Like a long experiment in love, faith, and family reaching its natural conclusion. Are we watching a new beginning? Or the final chapter of a story that once promised forever? One thing is certain, nothing about this comeback is simple. And the truth is still unfolding as the season edges closer to its final moments. There's a feeling you can't quite shake. This doesn't feel temporary. It feels permanent. For over a decade, the Brown family presented a bold idea to the world, that plural marriage could function with love, equality, and faith holding it together. Viewers watched children grow up, homes change, states relocate, and relationships evolve. Through every high and low, there was always one constant belief: the family would survive. But survival now looks very different. The unity that once defined them has fractured into separate lives moving in separate directions. Conversations that used to happen around one table now happen across state lines, if they happen at all. Some relationships are polite. Some are distant. Some feel completely severed. And perhaps the most difficult truth to accept is this: the original vision may no longer exist. Cody stands at the center of it all, but no longer as the unchallenged leader. Instead, he's a man facing the consequences of years of decisions, emotions, and shifting loyalties. The confidence that once drove him now feels replaced with defensiveness. His words carry frustration, but also something deeper, something that sounds like regret. Because when 3 marriages end, it stops being coincidence. It becomes a pattern. Christine has already stepped fully into her new life, no longer looking back. Janelle is rebuilding quietly but firmly, determined to protect her independence. Mary appears reflective, almost as if she's processing years of emotional endurance in slow motion. And Robin remains the final piece of what's left. If they choose to live monogamously, it won't just be a lifestyle adjustment. It will symbolize the official end of the plural family experiment that once defined them. And that shift would change everything. Then there's the weight of grief. The devastating loss the family has endured casts a shadow over every argument, every disagreement. It forces perspective. It makes the property disputes and public tension feel smaller, yet somehow more fragile. Because when tragedy hits, unresolved issues feel heavier, louder, more urgent. In many ways, this season doesn't feel like entertainment. It feels like accountability. The tell-all episodes promise brutal honesty, private conversations. No more hiding behind rehearsed smiles. Each member finally speaking without the need to protect a shared image. And the biggest question of all lingers in the background. Is this the final chapter? The show began in 2010 with hope, faith, and a promise that love could multiply without dividing. Now, years later, viewers are watching that promise unravel in real time. Maybe this isn't about blame anymore. Maybe it's about acceptance. Accepting that some journeys don't end the way they begin. Accepting that growth sometimes means separation. Accepting that holding on too tightly can break the very thing you're trying to save. If this truly is the end of an era, then it's ending not with celebration, but with reflection. And for those who have followed every season, every argument, every reconciliation attempt, one truth stands out above all. The fairy tale of one big, unbreakable family is over. What remains now are individuals choosing their own peace. Whether the cameras continue or not, the dynamic we once knew has already changed forever. And sometimes, the most shocking twist isn't an explosion. It's the quiet realization that something has ended, and it's never coming back. And just when it feels like there's nothing left to break, another layer peels away. Because this isn't only about land. It isn't only about favoritism. It isn't even only about failed marriages. It's about identity. About